And you see now there's a couple of them out there. So like Eastern Washington has the Inferno, like red turf. Oh, trust me, if you don't like Boise State's blue turf, you are not going to like Eastern Washington's red turf. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA college football and see plenty of college football videos, subscribe to this channel right now. I also do some Madden and Pro videos as well. Like I said, please subscribe. It's free to you. It's not going to cost you anything. All it's going to cost you is being up to date on everything EA college football, getting plenty of elite college football content, and some Pro and Madden videos as well. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit those. I really, really appreciate it. We're a little short on the subs right now. Once the subs get to 1,000, I do get monetized. Again, I'm just not saying I do this for the passion of it, obviously. If I get a little bit of cheddar cheese with that, that'd be cool too. But anyways, do all that. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, so we have a special one here. So this video was recorded Saturday morning, this last Saturday, and I've met with my boy, Jacob Blameyer, a.k.a. Bronco Blameyer. He is awesome. He has his own YouTube channel. He discusses all things college football, all things Boise State football, and things like that. We discuss a myriad of topics in this one. We discuss his connection to Boise State and the blue turf, that Blameyer name. It's going to be a good one. You're going to want to pay attention to that. The Blameyer name and their connection to Boise State's blue turf, the current state of Boise State, and where they're at in terms of a program, how conference realignment has affected them recently in a couple of years. He's also an alumni of Liberty University. So again, we're going to talk about Liberty in a second here, but it's a conversation that goes a couple different areas. You got to pay attention. It's really entertaining. He's a really cool guy. I'm going to make sure I include all of his links in the description for you to go find him, but we're going to go get after that conversation right now, and without further ado, I bring you my interview with my boy, Bronco Blameyer. All right, guys. Welcome to Master Football. This is a special one. Here we are. We are about 8:30 in the morning before the Boise State Tennessee Martin game, and I will say this. I am a little worried about this game because App State beat Texas A&M. Weber State beat the hell out of Utah State. There was a couple other ones. Eastern Kentucky beat Bowling Green. Marshall beat Notre Dame, so we're a little
lost to some tiny school.
Incarnate Word. I'm not even sure that's a real school. Okay, they're a real school. Don't come at me, Incarnate Word fans. But we're just a little on edge here because Boise State's not. The season right here is there's a little like they still have talent. You can definitely see they still have talent, but we're a little worried about that. But that's not what this is about. Okay, hopefully when you see this, we have a Skyhawks. We beat the Skyhawks. If we don't, I'm not going to release this. I'm quitting YouTube. It's over. Anyways, our dear friend, we have collaborated multiple times. This is his first time. Boise State, in 10 years, he's at a tailgate. So, without further ado, my friend, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Bronco Blameyer, obviously Master Football's come on a bunch of times on my channel, and it's great to be able to come over here and actually collaborate in person. Got a chance to fly up for the Boise State game. Being a pilot, I don't get a lot of opportunities to come up here with my busy schedule, but I've had a window. I said I'm going to take advantage of it. Great to be here for the first home game. So yeah, you look up at my content, Bronco Blameyer on YouTube, also on Twitter, and just do Boise State focused, college football in general, but pretty much Boise State focused. I'm not necessarily quite as vastly oriented here as Master Football is with all the NFL and the gaming too. But yeah, Boise State stuff, previews, game reviews, anything Boise State football, you can look me up.
And actually, we'll talk off camera about this, but I actually have kind of backed away from the NFL stuff because I'm like, you know what, I like college football, man.
Dude, that's
college football's where it's at. I do know that, and I'm a big gamer, so college football, the EA college football's coming out. I got a lot of videos on that, but also just college football in general. So if you like college football from the game to the off-field to the on-field, watch this channel. And if you like all of that, you're also going to like his channel too. But a better thing about it is kind of like, where are you at right now? So this is your first tailgate in 10 years. You're a former, you've been to games here before.
Yep.
Where are you at?
So right now I'm stationed down in Florida.
Okay.
So this is definitely a nice reprieve coming up to Idaho and not as humid and muggy. I mean, you walk outside in Florida, it is like walking into a sauna every single day.
Oh,
so
God.
this is amazing. I'm loving the weather up here. And plus, just in general, I love Boise. I mean, there's not a city like it in the country. There's not a place you're going to find such a combination of the city life, of the rural life, of the outdoor activity, and everything. I mean, so this is great. And yeah, first time since 2016 I've been able to make it up here for a Boise State game. And like he said, I haven't been to a tailgate since I was a teenager. So this is going to be a good time.
This is going to be a good time. Don't you worry. No, actually, I have my friend who's a Nebraska fan. We're going to go over. We're going to start tailgating at 10 in the morning. Game starts at 2 local time, and we're going to watch that game. We're going to have a couple adult beverages. Things will be fun. But with that, and you had mentioned that Florida. I actually a couple years ago, I went to the Florida State Boise State game, which was at a neutral site in Jacksonville,
right,
not too far from where
Florida
State is. They moved it because of a hurricane. They moved it to Doak Campbell, where they play their home game. So now it was a neutral site at their home stadium. It was Labor Day weekend, roughly around Labor Day weekend. It was 101 degrees, and it was 90-ish% humidity. I wanted to die. I wanted to die. So I really appreciate it here. He appreciates it here. The kickoff, it's going to be about 80 degrees, super dry. It's going to be perfect. But I want to make sure we can talk about this first. So, and again, I know it's probably cliche for you at this point. Your last name.
Yes.
Tell me about the history of your last name connected to Boise State football, because I know you've had to give this 100,000 times.
All right.
Do it again. 100,001.
Yeah, a little bit of a small connection there to Boise State.
Small one. Let him know.
So great uncle Gene Blameyer obviously invented the blue turf. So that was kind of cool growing up, because to me he's just my uncle, and as a kid you don't really think about it, and then you get to be a teenager and you start going to games and you start and then you're like, whoa. That's Gene Blameyer, and so it was always cool just hearing all the stories about all the coaches that he'd met and how he hired Chris Peterson and all the players that and I'd be like, hey, how's Kellen Moore? He'd be like, yeah, he's a cool guy. It's just it was a cool time. So yeah, the family name obviously, but even without the family name, I'd be a Boise State fan because there's not a team in the country like it that has the story and the success over the last 20 plus years of college football. Boise State has risen to the national scene, and there's not a team in the nation like it. So I'm happy to have had the name to be able to help kind of get me into it, but Boise State is definitely the team that I would root for no matter what.
And he oversaw a lot of that ascension. So the ascension from FCS to FBS, I want to say 1996, something like it was
1996.
1996 they went to. So they've only been playing FBS football for 26 years at this point. 26 years, they've gone from FBS or FCS to FBS. They've gone from the WAC to the Mountain West. They are rumored, and I know a lot of people out there. We have a lot of Big 12 fans. I actually did a poll, and I'm about 1/3 Big 12 fans. So the Big 12 fans have let me know that obviously Boise State's not their first choice. Their first choice is probably I believe they think is some Pac-12 schools. Now, maybe, and I'm with you guys, if it is, more for it, but I'm letting you know right now, I think that Ohio State has saved the Pac-12 because Ohio State has said we don't want any more Pac-12 teams, and because we don't want to dilute our money, and then the Pac-12 schools are going to stick together and this and that. Now, whether or not the Pac-12 can pull from the Big 12 or vice versa, that's kind of the question. We don't really know that, but we will get that answer in the future. With that, and you saw, hiring Chris Peterson, the blue turf. Has he ever told you any, special stories about wanting to put the turf in? What were people's reactions? Tell the people about that.
Yeah, so the story of the blue turf is kind of a funny one. He was flying back, and they were going to be putting in new AstroTurf because I think they'd put in a previous green AstroTurf a couple of years before, and there was time to put in a new AstroTurf. So he was flying back from a conference, and he had all the paperwork out in front of him. The different companies are putting forth requests, and so he's trying to figure it out. And then he starts thinking, why does it have to be green? Why does it have to be green? He's up in the air, he's flying, you got the blue sky around, he's thinking, why does it have to be green? Mm-hmm. And so that night when he gets back to the hotel room, he got on his television and turned the coloration down on the television. There was a football game on, he turned the coloration down until it went from green to blue. And he sits there and he watches the game for a little bit with the coloration mixed up, and he said, that doesn't look so bad. And when he got back, he said, we're going to a blue turf. And everyone's reaction when he said, we're going to a blue turf is, what? He said, this is going to put us on the map. And you know what? Even before, obviously the Fiesta Bowl wins and the success of the 2000s with Dan Hawkins and everything like that obviously got Boise State in the national attention. But, that putting in the blue turf turned Boise State from some little school in Idaho to the little school with a blue turf. And that kind of started everything out.
Yeah, and I think that with that blue turf, and you see now there's a couple of them out there. So, Eastern Washington has the Inferno, red turf. Oh, trust me, if you don't like Boise State's blue turf, you are not going to like Eastern Washington's red turf, okay? I believe there's Coastal Carolina's got teal.
Yep.
I don't think it's Eastern Michigan. I know somebody else has.
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan has what?
They have like a gray.
Is it Eastern or it's Western?
I'm pretty sure it's Western. Like when you're watching their games, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Western Michigan. When you're watching their games, it looks like you're watching black and white TV.
Yeah, yeah, and so I remember, and I actually heard this. I heard Gene Blameyer say this, where he was like, they were like, okay, so your colors are blue and orange. He was like, why didn't you go with orange turf? And he was like, I'm crazy. I'm not stupid.
I'm not stupid.
Yeah, orange turf would have been a bit much. Can you imagine, like, just boom? But blue turf,
It
and
looked
again,
like Washington, Eastern Washington.
and I'll let you know. So Rocky Long, a couple years ago, Rocky Long is the former head coach of San Diego State. He is now the defensive coordinator at New Mexico, and he's very, very well respected defensive coordinator. However, there was one time where he was a little whiny, and there was one time where he was like, "It takes our players like 2 quarters to get used to the blue turf, man." So in high school, I went to little old Mountain Home High School out here in Mountain Home. I played on blue turf. Do you know how long it takes for you to get used to the blue turf playing on it? About 30 seconds.
That's my guess.
Yeah, it takes you. It's like, whoa. All right, we have to warm up now, and that's basically how it
But
is.
things run a little slower in San Diego. You know, you got to give them a little bit of slack there. But.
You know, Rocky, Rocky, you're a well-respected defensive mind. That was one of your low points. Okay, that was real embarrassing. This is ridiculous. Moving on. But okay, so that's pretty cool. You also have a piece of the blue turf here, man. That's actually pretty cool. Check this bad boy out. He's got a piece of the blue turf right there. Gosh, and you're right. I think the big factor behind the blue turf is the fact that if BSU had never won any of those Fiesta Bowl games, they'd never beaten Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma is a historic power. If they had never won those games, it'd be cool.
Right.
Those cemented it.
Yeah.
It was over. So now it's like we're on the national stage. They are a Mountain West team, so it's a group of 5 school. But, I mean, unfortunately, I think the big issue with us right now as fans is that every year, they're like, who's the favorite to win the Mountain West? They're like, Boise State's obviously the favorite. Because they don't even, I don't know if it's lack of analysis or if it's that much respect for the brand.
Right.
Now, they are, you know, as much as I'll let everybody know here that us as Boise State fans, we are, what's the term we want to use here? A little on edge with Boise State, especially offensively. We're going to say that right now. We're a little on edge. Usually Boise State, we're really, really patient. Most coaching staffs work out. They're usually very innovative. They're this and that. They've got a lot of things there. I actually like our defense.
Oh, defense is great.
But
when you get past the corners, everything else is great, though.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, Oregon State got a couple ones biased. They got a couple ones over the top. But for the most part, once you got out of the first quarter, we really settled in. But that first quarter was really ugly. But continuing on with that, I think, like I said, I think that the blue turf was, if they didn't win on the field, it would be a gimmick. It would be, oh, okay, cool. It'd be like, gosh, what would be a good example? It would be like Stanford's band. Stanford's band is goofy, it's fun. You know, they're like running around and all that, you know, but like, if Stanford doesn't win, it's like, whatever. Stanford's tree, okay. Stanford's tree's technically not a mascot.
I did know that, yes.
It's just a guy?
Yeah. Yep, and it's just some guy who just ran on the field one time, and they're like, "Let's keep." Oh, no, that's not real. But
I don't. But my point is like, if they had not beaten those national powers, if they had not. Now again, I do remember the one year where they gave us TCU just to prevent us from actually. We're not going to get into that. We played TCU and blah blah blah. And we beat Arizona, and then we beat Oklahoma. 3 bowl championship series wins, 3 New Year's 6 wins as they're called now. So if those hadn't happened, it'd be a gimmick. But again, they did happen, and we are cemented. And we are, of the group of 5 right now, if somebody has to pull somebody and they had to pick the top one, it depends on where you're at, because Pac-12 really likes San Diego State because it's in that region. Yeah. We're actually in the Pac-12 region too. It's crazy because when Washington State has to play Utah, they fly over us, you know. But we're definitely up there too in terms of those types of teams. But let's go move on from a couple different things here. I actually want to talk about your other team that you're a fan of, because I see some similarities, but I want you to run me up on the history of Liberty football and the Liberty Flames. Tell me about your connection to Liberty.
Yeah, well, so my connection to Liberty is obviously when I was looking around for schools, my number one choice was Boise State, but unfortunately no Air Force ROTC at Boise State, only Army ROTC. And while we respect all the service branches and a lot of props to everyone who's gone out there and served in the Army, I was not going to serve in the Army. So no way. I mean, I'm 4th generation Air Force. I've got my dad, my grandfather, my great grandfather all served in the Air Force. So that was my number one choice. So I just pretty much looked up Christian schools with ROTC, and Liberty came up, and they offered me more scholarship money than the rest of them, so I ended up going to Liberty. Had a great experience. When I was there, they were still an FCS team. I became FBS my final year. But I just had a great experience with the Flames, and definitely, while I always bleed blue, and I'll always be a Boise State fan, I'm also a Liberty Flames fan. And I tell people, they say, all right, who's your favorite? Who are you in for? I said, I am a favorite team of both Boise State and Liberty. I'll never choose between them. I've decided already, if they ever play each other, I'm going to paint up half Boise State, half Liberty, and I'm just going to stream the whole game for both sides, whoever's on the field. So I'll never pick between Boise State and Liberty. So born and raised a Boise State fan. Went to Liberty, so those are both my schools there. But yeah, Liberty football, they have done a great job of building themselves up, like Boise State, kind of taking themselves out of that little recognition area and building themselves up. They're in their 5th year in the FBS right now. They've won 3 straight bowl games. They have had more success in their first 5 years of college football, FBS level, initial FBS level, than any team in the history of college football so far. No team has been to 3 bowl games and won 3 bowl games within their first 5 years of FBS. There's a couple teams that were FBS when it was introduced for like a few years, and then went back to the FCS, and then came back to the FBS and have that and did similar stuff. But first time ever being in the FBS, first 5 years, no team has ever done it. Liberty's the only one. So they do a lot of similarities. They use their tight ends a lot, though I don't know if that's a similarity anymore because Boise State doesn't really do that this season.
No, we're not going to talk about Boise State offense very positively. I'm going to let you all know, but continue.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say they have a lot in common necessarily with this offense. I'm going to say traditional Boise State offense. They use a lot of shifts. They use their tight ends pretty heavily. Yeah, so they use their tight ends very effectively. Big part of their passing game. They use a lot of shifts. They use a lot of misdirections. They'll mix in the trick plays. Hugh Freeze, obviously the guy who beat Alabama twice when he was at Ole Miss, so great offensive mind. So I just always see a lot. People always say, is it easy being a fan of both? And I'll say absolutely. I mean, they've got similar core values. Obviously, Boise State, a public university, not a Christian university, but Boise State, they've got strong values. They are super supportive of the military. Both teams, I feel totally at home, both fan bases with my military background. And so, yeah, bleed blue and go Flames. I'll never choose between them. They're both my favorite teams.
Love it, man. And yeah, the cool thing about that, too, is when I'm talking about Liberty. So Liberty is on a fast ascension. When they were talking about conference realignment, they were talking, a big reason why Central Florida was brought in to the Big 12 was because Central Florida has 75,000, students right now or something like that. They're pumping out just a crap ton of grads. Nobody told me how big Liberty was. Liberty is maybe the in-person not as big, but online they are an absolute powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
How many grads how many alum or people do they have enrolled in Liberty, right? It's some astronomical number, isn't it?
Yeah, so residentially, they're not a tiny school, They have a $2 billion endowment because of all the donations they receive, so they're constantly building stuff. I mean, our student basketball center had like 8 basketball courts in it. So, it's a huge growing school. They've got about 20,000 students.
That's big.
When I came in, they were at 16,000. Now they're about 20,000. So they're not the biggest, but they have a substantial on-student campus. But they have online, they have over 100,000 students every single year.
And that's the thing, is that when you're talking about conference realignment, you're talking about expansion, you're talking about how you want to be attractive to certain conferences there. The alumni is a big important part. And Liberty, the cool thing about Liberty is that they're not geographically limited. So they've got things that they are in, I want to say, Central or Western Virginia.
Lynchburg, Virginia. Central Virginia.
So, and the cool thing about, they're like in the heart of, like maybe not the heart of the South, but certainly, Virginia Tech was, when they were rolling, they recruited heavily out of, I want to say the 9 boroughs, is it the 9 boroughs, the 9 cities, but that's like Norfolk, Suffolk, Virginia Beach. My friend used to live in Virginia Beach. Nice. But yeah, they're close to the South, close to a lot of stuff here. So they definitely have a power. You're a big fan of your boy Malik Willis.
Yep.
So listen, how long until he takes it from Tannehill? How long?
Dude, well, I kind of was thinking that maybe he'd see some action halfway through the season if they were struggling, but they lost to the Giants in their first game. You don't have a team
Danny Dimes.
You don't have a team that has playoff aspirations that loses to the Giants and doesn't start asking questions.
It is week 1. My friend's a big Seahawks fan. They just beat the Broncos. The remaining 16 games, I like the Broncos.
Yeah.
But for the Titans, like you said, you're hoping you're going to win the AFC South. You know, you think it's going to be you versus the Colts.
Yeah.
And you come out and you just a real stinker. They on there was like a 3rd and 1 or something like that where they were in a tight end jet sweep rather than giving it to Derrick Henry down. It's just
here's my issue with Tannehill. He reminds me a lot of Joe Southwick, and I like Joe Southwick. But Joe Southwick was a okay quarterback with a really good running back. You know, so he was there when I believe he had Jay Ajayi. I think I might be getting my timelines mixed up, but he had a really good running game and an okay quarterback. But he wasn't going to be your explosive, you know, light him up like Grant Hendrick when he came in. I mean, he was a guy who could use his legs. He was a guy who could take us to a Fiesta Bowl. Joe Southwick would get us wins, but he wouldn't take us to the next level. That's how I see Ryan Tannehill. I see him as a guy who he's a reliable passer who can get you, you know, a few accurate yards and that kind of thing, but he's not going to take over a game and innovate when you need. Malik Willis, he's young, he's raw. Obviously, he had a couple issues in the preseason, but he also looked good in the preseason. He is a guy who can innovate and take you to the next level. I mean, he is. I always like to say that he is Michael Vick 2.0 without the dogs. So that's where I'm going with that. With Malik Willis, I'm excited to see what he can do.
And you see if you play Madden, you just see the stats on that. You can definitely tell that like he's the ultimate project quarterback. He's got a cannon, he can run, he's got all this and that. Tannehill, remember, and I know you know this, but Tannehill already busted out. He busted out. He was at Miami. It fell apart. Comes over to Tennessee. They have a really good nucleus around him. You know, they've got a couple good receivers. They've got A.J. Brown. They've got, you know, they eventually added Julio Jones. He was only there for a little bit. Yeah. But, you know, it just wasn't the way that they wanted it to be. Now that they're losing players, you can kind of tell, like, oh, now we're starting to see Miami Ryan Tannehill as opposed to Tennessee Ryan Tannehill. But we're talking about, again, we're going to go on a couple different topics here, so stick with us, okay? All right, now, I think this is a good time. We're a couple minutes in here. Let's talk about Boise State's current state of affairs. So give me the breakdown of the team. 2 games, okay? Win at New Mexico, hooray, and then loss at Oregon State, who just went to Fresno State and won in a thriller. So take us through the season you've seen so far. What's going on?
What I see with Boise State right now, if you could summarize the issues in one or 2 words, I think it'd probably be Tim Plow. I understand that a lot of fans are kind of are completely on the anti-Tim Plow right. I'm not anti-Tim Plow, but and last year I was like, hey, let's give him time, let's get developed. But what he's shown so far this season is a hyper focus on things he thinks he needs to fix and an inability to adapt and innovate against what the defense is giving him. Mm-hmm. So last season, very few deep balls. Everyone talked about it. The media was all over it. They were saying, hey, we didn't throw the ball very deep very much. We need to fix that. Riley Smith didn't get very many receptions last year. He was the 3rd receiving tight end after 2020 when he was the leading tight end, over 150 yards, I think, in 2020, and then last year he was under 100. So Riley Smith. So what does he do this year? Throws the ball every time to Riley Smith out of all the tight ends, doesn't use any other tight ends, and goes deep on almost every single play. And that's the kind of thing that you see with Tim Plow is you go, oh, I've got something I need to fix. I need to focus on this one thing. It's why you see amazing creative plays from him, like last week against New Mexico in the red zone. You've got Helani shifting to left. You've got Latrell Caples coming underneath. They pitch it forward to Latrell.
That was an amazing play.
It was incredible. You see amazing plays like that, and then you see him running up the middle 20 times. You know, so it's because he gets focused on one thing. He's a brilliant mind as far as sitting down and drawing up a play, but I don't think he knows how to look at what's going on the field overall and put things together consistently. What I would like to see Tim Plow is as an offensive analyst who designs some plays and gives it to the offensive coordinator who then calls it. Yeah. So this season, the defense, like we were talking about earlier, looks great. Defensive line looks super dominant.
Defensive line looks really good.
Defensive line looks like they might have some NFL talent on there. Our linebackers have been surprised. I thought there was going to be a little bit of a weak spot.
I did too.
And Schramm has stepped up. Noah has stepped up. The linebackers have really stepped up. And then the secondary is pretty good overall. Corners give me a little bit of questions, specifically there with Kaniho. I think that they need to maybe play biggers a little bit more. But overall defense looks great. I said on Twitter, I said it's just such a shame that this defense has to be matched with this offense because this is a championship-winning defense.
It is.
If we could just have even a decent offense, you know, if we could have an offense that could just go out there and give us 20 points a game, you know, or 28 points a game, we could probably win a lot of these games. But it's a lot of question on offense. Tim Plow, I think if he doesn't figure some things out this year, I think he's going to be gone. I like to give coaches 3 years. I think that the fan base, I think that the coaching staff, the school overall, that's their concern. And I think that if he doesn't figure some things out and show some things in the next couple games, there's going to be a trend towards getting him out by the end of the season.
And I was listening to Chris Peterson talk. Chris Peterson was talking about Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson, the former linebacker for University of Washington. Very first game Chris Peterson gets there, they were losing to, I want to say, an FCS team at halftime. And the fans were booing him. And Shaq Thompson comes up to him and he's like, "This isn't nice old Boise. They'll let you know if they're upset." Well, I'm letting you know right now. I think that the Boise fans, we've actually got a lot of people from out of state who've moved in, and I think that the impatience is starting to come. So I think that it's not like no longer super nice Boise. Oh, Boise's so nice. I'm like, Tim Plow's testing that, and I think that a big factor behind that is, and we had mentioned this before, that Boise State's known for tight ends, multiple shifts, adapting to the defense. I do feel like Tim Plow came in with the same cookie-cutter spread offense that everybody else had there, where it would be hitch, slant, bubble, screen, fade, and then, like veer and something like that. For some reason, and I don't know what it is, I'm upset that I feel like I'm right about this situation, but the center and both of the guards have, we're just going to say, struggled in the first couple of games is what we're going to say. With Oregon State game, and Oregon State deserves all the credit in the world. They deserve all the credit in the world. But if you take away all of the turnovers that Boise State had in their first couple of drives, I think that they got a couple over the top. They got, Musgrave's a really good tight end. They got a couple over the top there. But after the first quarter, I'd take our defense over their offense for 10 more quarters.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, when your quarterback has 30 yards and 3 turnovers and 5 drives, you're going to lose the game. But then you see the New Mexico game come out and, other than a kick return for a touchdown and one where E.J. Biggers got pulled, and I think he got pulled because of a personal foul penalty, and they gave up a touchdown to number 41. I forgot what his name was, but defense played great. The defense is going to keep you in a lot of games. I was thinking about this. Boise State is used to, even like you had said, Joe Southwick. Joe Southwick was kind of a down year for us, and we were 8-4, 9-3. Yeah. Down year for Boise State, 8-4, 9-3. But still able to move the ball on offense in certain aspects.
Right.
This is different. I almost feel like I don't want to be disrespectful to this team because I know that I have a lot of those viewers that watch this game, but I feel like a San Diego State fan where your offense, you're like, the offense at certain times, or like a Chicago Bears fan. I have a friend who's a Chicago Bears fan. Certain times your offense is just unwatchable.
Right.
But you win the game.
Yeah.
Come out. We won by 17 against New Mexico, at New Mexico. It's still, it's a road game. It's on a short week. But do you think that Boise State has to prepare themselves for that we're going to be a defensive team almost? Do you think it's put Talon in the game and just run it and just shorten the game up? What do you think? What's your confidence in the offense to be more representative of, the offenses we can be throughout the rest of the season?
Well, see, I look at the pieces on this offense, and I see players capable of being the traditional Boise State offense. Mm-hmm. They're explosive. I see, you've got 2 amazing running backs. Mm-hmm. Halani, obviously, we knew Halani was great, but Ashton Genty is amazing. True freshman, what he's done so far, he looks like Doug Martin 2.0. Mm-hmm. I mean, his size as a true freshman coming in, the weight that he's put on as far as muscle mass as a true freshman, and his ability to stay up after contact and his speed, he is definitely the future of Boise State. I'm not saying take over from Halani. Love Halani. Big Halani fan. But once Halani leaves, or whether it's, could you leave this year, might leave this year, or next season, Genty's going to do great. So you look at Genty. We got good wide receivers. They're not tested.
Caples, Cobbs, I actually like them. Yeah,
Caples and Cobbs. Bowens has shown some great stuff. He's the leading wide receiver right now for Boise State. So, and then you've got some untested guys. Cole Wright. I had to look up his name. I don't even think he even had a photo on ESPN. He had his first catch for 47 yards last week. Mm-hmm. So, and then you look at the tight ends. We have amazing tight ends. Riley Smith, Tannehill Hopper, Kurt Rafdell, those guys. So you look at this offense, outside of the offensive line, which is an issue. You look at this offense, and the quarterback, Hank Bachmeier, has, in his 4 years, has shown some great things at Boise State as well. So you look at this offense, you say, we should be good. I think the issue is Tim Plow. I think what he's trying to do is he was an air raid style guy at UC Davis. Mm-hmm. There's no 2 ways about it. You go back, you look at those stats, he was an air raid style guy. Mm-hmm. He came to Boise State. We have always been a balanced attack offense.
Always.
Our passing game's taken a lot of focus. We had Killamore all those years. We had Jared Zabransky.
But Killamore had Doug Martin. And he had a couple of dudes.
We had before COVID year, and then last season we'd had, was it 10 straight backs, 1,000-yard backs?
So Jai, I mean,
Jai, McNichols, I won't name every single one, but I mean, Boise State's been an RBU as well. So, but they've been a balanced attack. I think Tim Plow came in here and is trying to run. He's an air style guy trying to run a balanced attack. You watch him call run plays. He doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to be creative in the run game. That's why we run it up the middle every single time. Honestly, if we're going to stick with Tim Plow, I want him to do what he's good at. He should be running an air raid style because that's what he knows how to do. He had success at UC Davis. We saw some success when he shifted towards more of an air raid style attack last year in the games that he would focus on the air raid. Part of that was because of injuries with Holani, but he was forced to focus on air raid, and we looked pretty good. I mean, we looked better than this. We looked like we could move the ball. This year, he looks like he's trying to run a balanced attack, but he's not being creative in the running game, and he's only throwing balls over the deep over the top. I think we would have success. We've got running backs who can catch, who are great in the receiver game. We've got great slot receivers. Say what you will about untested guys on the outside, but Cobbs and Caples are great slot guys in the middle. And then we have amazing tight ends. We have all the pieces, and honestly, air raid style works with a weak offensive line because you're throwing the balls out quick. So I think Tim Plow needs to. I think that's probably the biggest issue. When you look at Tim Plow being inconsistent in between the 20s, having great play calls, maybe being inconsistent in between the 20s, I think it's because he's not focusing on his identity. That's my biggest issue. Yeah,
I do think, and that's a big aspect, is that from Boise State's offense, man, I'm like, what is the identity? Are we a power run game? Are we a spread offense? Are we a vertical offense? Are we a short passing game? I still don't know. I have watched, and I mean, if you watch the first of all, you have to be super brave to watch the offensive line against Oregon State the first couple of drives. You have to be super brave to watch the offensive line against Oregon State. It's just so bad. I mean, especially I'm telling you, the center and both of the guards have really, really struggled. I do think there's one thing that I'm going to try and put a clip up. I haven't made a clip yet, but I think Ulani's still hurt. I think he's. I have to show you this clip. They ran a play action where it was like a PA boot where running back fakes it and he goes out into the flats, and he was noticeably limping. I'm going to put it on Twitter. Everybody follow me on Twitter. Okay, go check it out. Follow him on Twitter too. Okay, but anyways, yeah, we're definitely frustrated with that. I have seen that Avalos's impact on the field, day one. Yeah. We played Fresno State. Everybody's like, you guys are going to lose by 1,000. Come out, win 40-14.
Yeah.
Remember, though, this is the crazy thing about this. Last season, I looked it up. How many games did Boise State average more than 4 yards a carry? Last season, 12 games. How many games did they average more than 4 yards a carry? If you had to guess.
If I had to guess, with Holani being hurt at the beginning of the year and not looking so good with the backups, I'd probably say 4.
2.
2?
2.
Oh, my gosh.
I think the BYU game, it was even like, I think it was like 3.6 yards per carry. They just do not have the ability to rush. And again, I don't know if it's they telegraph it too much or this or that. Again, you leave that to the experts. But again, I do know enough to know that the experts are being in question right now at Boise State from an offensive perspective. So hopefully Tim Plow can figure it out. Hopefully things like that are good. But
I'm rooting for him.
I'm rooting for him too.
Because you don't want to. It doesn't make sense to root against your offensive coordinator.
No.
So the Tim Plow hate. I don't. You want him to do well. I just think he needs to figure it out.
It's like a relative. Yeah. You're like, dude, come on. I want you to do well, but you're not.
Right.
All right, guys. So we're about to go watch this game. This is going to be awesome. Okay. First tailgate in a decade. So he's going to go out here and check it out. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to watch. Like I said, I'm going to watch the Nebraska-Oklahoma game. My friend who's a Nebraska fan, he's a sad panda because they just fired his head coach. Scott Frost, who's going to save the dynasty and things like that. But
the national champion Scott Frost.
Listen, hey, it just something. Hey, Scott Frost, it was all lined up. He comes over, and it just didn't work out. Tim Plow, I think what happened was UC Davis. He played at UC Davis, played against Oregon in a couple of games there, and he was like, I like that guy. So when Avalos was Oregon, the defensive coordinator, he brings him over. Well, Tim, I'm hoping that we don't have a trend of absolutely just nuke the first couple of games, and then you figure out what your offense is. Because they beat BYU at BYU. That was with the help of a couple of fumbles.
Yep.
But still at the same time, like, looking forward to the rest of the season. I know you are too. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so like I said, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Bronco Blameyer. So Bronco Blameyer on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. I am experimenting with Instagram. I've never really gone on there before. I'm kind of, I don't know. So, but Twitter and YouTube. Then also on Facebook, we've got a great Facebook group that Nick Wade founded, Bronco Nation Updates. I think we're over 10,500 members now, almost 11,000. We might be over 11,000. So if you want to connect with Boise State fans across the country, you can find Boise State fans on there. I also founded the Mountain West Conference Alliance Group, which is over 3,000 members now.
Nice.
And that's a collection of different fan groups of different Mountain West teams. So you can find me on both there, primarily though, Twitter and YouTube. And hit me up. We'll talk a little bit of Boise State football. I'm excited for the season.
Dude, awesome. Jake, man. Love it, man. All right, hey. You always sign off the last time. I want you to sign off for us right now. Sign off for us, please. Here's the mic. I want you to sign off the way you sign off.
All right, Bronco Nation, thanks for listening to us today. This was a great video. It's a great chance to sit down here with Master Football and have this conversation. He's been on my channel a bunch of times. He'll be on it again. So thanks so much for watching us. And as always, go Big Blue!
All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys later. I am out.